You see, in the Bible, there was this prophet that went to this king. And he's like, listen, king, I have this story for you. It is a crazy story. You listen. And the king's like, yeah, tell me the story. So this prophet starts telling the story. He said, hey, there were two neighbors. They lived right next door to each other. One was filthy rich. One was poor. The one that was filthy rich had tons and tons and tons of livestock, tons of sheep, goat, cattle. That's normally what made you rich back then, by the way. Okay? He had all this stuff. He had tons of land. He was wealthy. He had servants, everything. But his neighbor, his one neighbor, was very poor, did not have a lot of land, and had one small little lamb. That's it. One lamb. In fact, this lamb was so precious to them that he lived with them in their house. They fed him inside. He lived with them. The kids played with this lamb. The lamb actually slept with the owner. That's how much a part of this family this lamb was. Okay, this cute little lamb. And he tells this king, he says, hey, king, so one day a traveler came in. Now, back then, when a traveler came to your house, just so you guys know, you were supposed to, hang out with them, throw a party for them, feed them. Because here's the thing is, you would normally travel other places. You want people to treat you the same way. So people came into town, and he decided, instead of killing one of his own lambs, he went to his poor neighbor and stole his lamb and killed it and fed that to the people. Is that jacked up? Okay, come on. That is way jacked up. And he tells the story. Now, the king, like any righteous king, this king heard that he said, what the heck? This rich guy had tons of sheep. He could have done anything, and he stole that guy's, and he killed that lamb, and he fed. What the heck? And he's furious. That's it. Find me that guy right now, because I am going to punish him way worse than he ever did to that family. And the prophet in 2 Samuel 12 looks at the king, which happens to be King David this time, and says, that rich man is you, David. And David's like, what? And he's like, remember, you went to one of your soldiers' houses, slept with his wife, and then had him killed. You did the same exact thing. And he goes, oh my goodness. And it's an incredible story, because the way David responded was awesome, was crazy. The way he responded and said, I'm sorry, God, and God dealt with him. There was punishment. There was everything going on. But I tell that story because it's funny how in life we're quick to sometimes judge others. I know you have those friends that are total gossips, that totally say all these things, and you're like stinking gossips, and you get upset with them. And then sometimes we end up going, well, I kind of struggle with that too a little bit. Some of you have friends that struggle with cussing, or they struggle with lying, or they struggle with putting others down, or they struggle with cheating. And there's a laundry list of things that they do, and sometimes we judge them like, oh, they're not a good person, but I'm good. And it's crazy how there are things that we judge others on, and we forget that we probably need to judge ourselves. You see, we're continuing our series called the Upside Down series, and we are looking at the Sermon on the Mount of Jesus' teaching. And hopefully, if you've been here for the last few weeks, you've seen the way Jesus teaches is completely upside down. Like, you've heard it one way, and he says, let me expand it. Let me show you a little different side of it. And a lot of times it ends up being different than the way we thought it was. And I want to maybe show today that maybe today the way we see things might not be the way it really works. So if you have your Bibles, open up to Matthew chapter 7. We're continuing the Upside Down series. And we're going to look at chapter 7, verse 1. Matthew, first book in the New Testament. In my Bible, it's 1452. Okay, it's probably not yours, but hey, that might give you an idea. But if you can find Matthew chapter 1, we're going to underline some stuff in there. So if you like to use your Bible as a notebook, okay, or a study guide of some sort, because we should be studying this thing, then get your Bibles out. Here we go. Judges chapter 7, verse 1 says this, do not judge. Okay, underline that. Do not judge, or you too will be judged. I would circle that. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged. I would underline that. For the same way you judge others, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, it'll be measured on you. I'd underlined all that. That is very important. We're not supposed to judge others. Now, you know what? That isn't seen upside down because we live in a culture where you're not supposed to judge others, but it keeps going. He says this, why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? I would circle plank in your own eye. If you don't fully understand what that means, he's saying, why do you care about the small little sin in somebody else's life when you have a crap load of sin in your own life? Why? He's pointing out something. He's like, oh, you guys are with me, right? You know what I'm talking about? It says right here, how can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when all the time there's this huge plank in your own eye? You hypocrite. First take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly enough to remove the speck from your brother's eye. Do not give dogs what is sacred. Do not throw pearls to pigs. If you do, they may trample them under their feet and then turn away and tear you to pieces. Okay, that's a crazy little part. If you want to know that, it's just the idea of be careful who you hold accountable and who you give advice to, because if they don't really care, it can end up hurting you. That's another little thing. But really what Jesus is talking about, he says, hey, don't judge others, but he doesn't stop there. Okay? We're doing this series called Judging Others. Whose job is it? But what I want to do, before I go on, I want to take you to another verse real quick. It's found in 1 Corinthians 5:12. Okay, it's going to come up on the board. Here's what I read. This is Paul. He says this, what business is it of mine to judge others outside the church? Are you not to judge those inside the church? Okay, so Jesus says don't judge others, and then he tells us a script of something different that we're going to talk about. And then Paul even goes a step further. He wants to remind you, it's not our job to judge anyone outside the church. What that means outside the church is someone who's not a Christian, who's not a Christ follower, who the Holy Spirit's not living in their life, who they don't have a relationship with. They haven't claimed to be a Christian yet. Okay? When he says someone outside the church, that is someone who has not said, hey guys, I'm a Christian. I believe Jesus Christ, he's my Lord and Savior, and I want to follow him. Okay? And you're like, well, Trav, people don't make that proclamation all the time. You know what is evidence of that proclamation? It's when you get baptized. Because when you get baptized, you're telling them, I'm a Christian. God has changed my life. I want to be different. That's what he says. But it says, but aren't we supposed to judge those inside the church? Here's the thing, is Paul is saying, guess what? You're supposed to still judge other Christians. In fact, if you have your note sheets, understand this. We are still called to judge other Christians, not non-Christians. Hey, if you're just showing up here today and you're like, I don't even know who this Jesus guy is. I don't even know if I want to follow him. I don't know if I want to be Lord of my life. Then you wouldn't be called a Christian, and that's okay. We're not supposed to judge you yet, but it's very clear that we're supposed to judge other Christians. Because let's be honest. If we didn't judge other Christians, then that means it's okay for someone in front of me to just be like, do whatever they want. Who cares? And I go, yeah, I'm okay with it because I'm not supposed to judge you. So what you would say is, it's okay for all my small group leaders at TNL, hey, if they're all cheating on their husbands or wives, or if they're all sleeping around with multiple people, that's okay. Whoop-dee, because it's not my job to judge. No, that's stupid. If I find that out, we kick them off staff, okay? Or we say, hey, what are you doing? Because I want them to be a light for you. That'd be stupid. So we are supposed to judge other believers. So how do we do that? How do we actually do that properly? Because Jesus said, don't judge others, or you will be judged. It's very clear. But here's what's awesome, is if we go back to the same passage, Jesus actually shows us how to judge properly. So if you have your note sheets, what I want to do is I want to show you how we properly can judge other Christians, because believe it or not, we're supposed to be doing it. We are supposed to, but we still need to do it in the right way, because it says in the measure you use will be used against you. And I don't know about you. I don't want to get to heaven and God goes, hey, remember the way you use it on your homies? Boom. Mic drop, you're done. Whatever it is, okay? So let me talk through what that looks like. So step one, how to judge others properly is this. First thing you're supposed to do is if you're going to judge other Christians, not non-Christians, other Christians, you need to judge ourselves first. You need to judge yourself first. It's the most important thing. He talks about in there, he said, hey, first look at the log or the plank in your own eye. He's very clear. He said, you're a sinner, you stinking idiot. First take care of the sin in your own life. We're supposed to judge ourselves first. Here's the problem. When we see someone else messing up and doing stupid stuff, is our first reaction to say, ooh, am I doing the same thing? Probably not. Probably our first reaction is to go, you stinking idiot, you're such a bad Christian, and we judge them. And then Jesus says, you stinking hypocrite, don't do that. Don't do that. I love this. In 1 Corinthians 11:31-2, it says this, but if we judged ourselves, we would not come under judgment. When we are judged by the Lord, we are being disciplined so that we will not be condemned with the world. When we judge ourselves, when we start worrying about ourselves, that is a good thing, that we're still looking at what do I struggle with. So our job as Christians first is to judge our sins. I need to ask you, are there things that you're doing as stupid right now? Maybe you need to start taking care of that first. Maybe your friends who shouldn't be judging yet are judging you because you're really the problem. I don't know. But before we can judge, the first thing it says, judge yourself. The second thing is this. If we're going to judge people properly, biblically, the next thing we need to do is we need to judge their actions, not their hearts. We need to judge their actions, not their hearts. What that means is we can only judge people on what we see, but not on their hearts. Because here's the problem. There's a difference. Like, Trav, what's the difference? Okay? The difference is this, is when we make judgments on people, a lot of times we use those judgments to make it seem like they are really bad people. So you're judging someone, you're like, oh, I have friends that do some really jacked up stuff, okay? And on the outside, I go, they're not sinners. I mean, they're not Christians. I mean, do you know how many people, think about in your life, there are people that, they don't look like Christians that go to TNL. Am I right? There are people that you maybe sit next to that you're like, if I had to bet, I don't even think they know who God is, the way they act. And it's crazy how we go straight to, well, then I don't think they're a Christian. Well, they must not really know the Lord. Here's the thing is, that's not our job, is to judge their hearts. Because there's a lot of people out there that make a ton of mistakes, and the minute I start judging their hearts that they're not even a Christian, that's when I get in trouble. But it's okay to judge their actions. Hey, you're struggling with this. Why aren't you changing that? Hey, you're struggling with this. That's not right. If you have someone next to you that they're cheating on tests, and you're like, you call yourself a Christian, yeah, that's not a good thing for them to do. If you have a friend who's claiming to be a Christian and following the Lord, and they're messing up sexually with their boyfriend or girlfriend, that is a sin. They shouldn't be doing that. It's okay to say that is sin. I can judge that as sin. I can judge the action, but I can't judge the heart. Because you see, here's the problem. When we start judging the heart, here's where we kind of get in trouble. It gets dangerous when we think the worst of others because of maybe something they do. It's crazy when we think, when we maybe judge someone's entire life on one bad moment. Have you been there? Where like you do one bad thing and now you've changed, but everyone still judges you on that. It's not what God calls us to do. God calls us to forgive. You see, that would be judging the inside where we start to do that. When we start to judge motives of others. Just my son, I don't mean to put him on the spot. He's probably not going to love this, but I was talking with one of my sons on Friday, or Thursday or Friday, and we were talking, and he has a guy in his small group that is really, really, really hard. And all the guys have a really hard time with this guy. And it's even worse. This guy texts us a lot and says things, and they all go, see, that's the problem because he means this, this, and this, and this. And I had to say, are you sure that's what he means? Well, no. We know deep down inside this is who he is. And I'm like, are you positive? I think that's where we get dangerous, where God says we're judging people's motives, we're judging the hearts. When we don't know that, we just can only judge the outside. We can only judge when they make a mistake. When we start saying, but that's who they really are, that's dangerous. You see, there's a story in the Bible. It's found in Mark chapter 18. There's this, Jesus is talking about two different people, and it says a tax collector comes in to pray. Now, tax collectors back then, they would have been some of the worst people. If you would have said someone who didn't follow Christ, that would have been a tax collector. Why? Here was their whole job. Here's why tax collectors were hated. Today, it's different. Tax collectors, their job is to look at your taxes and go, you're supposed to pay more. In fact, it's exactly, Trav, you still owe $1,121. And you're like, what? Where'd you get that? And they're like, let me show it. That's not how tax collectors worked back then. Okay, still people don't like tax collectors here, but at least tax collectors weren't shady, jacked up people as they were in the Bible. You see, because here's what they would do is, the king would go to a tax collector and say, hey, I looked at my kingdom and I think that all the people owe me $1 million. He's like, all right, king, I'll go get you $1 million. But he said, listen, whatever you get over $1 million is yours. So he would go to someone, and the tax collector would go to someone, they go, oh, dang, so really, in their mind, they're like, okay, they really owe $500, but all right, you owe me $1,000. And they're like, $1,000? Yep, you owe me $1,000. They're like, no, where'd you get that from? I said, you owe me $1,000. This would be a tax collector. And you're like, but I can't pay $1,000. All right, you're going to prison. I can pay $500. Nope, $1,000. That's it, sent into prison. And they would send people to prison, or they would put more tax on it, or they get them like crazy. So guess what? Tax collectors were shady, jacked up people that were filthy rich. Sometimes they'd get $1 million for the king and they'd get $1 million for themselves. And they could all do that under the authority of the king. They could take the troops with them to arrest them because they wouldn't listen to the tax collector. That's what happened to tax collectors. That's why people hated tax collectors. Now, here's what's crazy. This sinner, tax collector, Jesus tells this story that this tax collector goes to pray, and he gets on his knees, and he says that the tax collector knows how bad of a sinner is that he won't even look up to heaven. He'll only look down, and he prays in his heart, God, I'm a sinner. Please forgive me. And God says that's a righteous prayer. You see, here's the thing is God said he judges the heart, not the actions. Yes, that tax collector should change. The tax collector should give all their money back. But God was saying, look at their heart. There's a humility that goes, God, I am a sinner. I'm jacked up. Help me. And I think when people make mistakes, we don't get to see that part. I don't know. I don't know your hearts. Sometimes I go, okay, you're making some stupid decisions. You do some stupid things, and I can judge that and go, hey, why are you doing that? What are you doing? That's jacked up. But I don't know your heart. And God says we can't judge the heart. Because it could be like this tax collector that right now they look like the worst sinner in the world, but their heart is there, that God's working on them. I don't know. So that's why we got to be careful. So the first thing is how to judge people properly is first judge ourselves. Second, you're only allowed to judge the outward appearance. You can't judge them inwardly, whether they're going to heaven, whether they're Christian or not. I don't know. And I'll be honest with you today, if people are like, Trav, is that person going to heaven? I go, I don't know. I don't know their heart. You guys are telling me that you're a follower of Jesus Christ, that Jesus is Lord of your life. That's awesome. I'm going to believe that, but I don't know your heart, and I never will, because only one person knows your heart. That's God. Okay? And the third thing, if we're really going to judge properly, if we're really supposed to be called to judge Christians, but we have to do it the right way. First, we're going to judge ourselves first. Secondly, we're going to judge their actions, not their heart, because we don't have that ability to do that. But the third thing is this, and I'm using it straight from the Bible, is this. You are going to help them remove the sawdust from their eyes. See, here's what's different. When you judge someone, say, that person's not a Christian, what an idiot. Oh, that person, look what they did. They're terrible. Look at that. That's not the way to judge. Here's what Jesus does say. He says right here, he said, first take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly enough to remove the speck from your brother's eye. Here's what he's saying is, if we're going to judge others, we need to first look at the speck, the sawdust, the little bit of sin in their life, and we need to help them remove it. So when we judge others, we're actually supposed to be going and helping them. There's a difference between judging someone, what a bad person, and you going, hey, buddy, what are you doing? Guys, I have some friends that are pretty jacked up. Okay, they call themselves Christians, but they're doing stuff that they're not living like Christ. And God says that I need to now go to them and say, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? You're not supposed to be doing that. And they're supposed to go, oh, Trev, thanks. You're right. I'm sorry. I need to change. I'm supposed to help them. I could the whole time say, yep, they're going to hell. Or I could go, dude, how do I help you? In fact, I love it. David in Psalm 141:5, he is talking. It's awesome. This is the attitude we should have when I correct people. This is the attitude I should have. When people correct me, this is the attitude I should have. Check this out. This is David talking. He says, let a righteous man strike me. It is a kindness. Wait. Let a righteous man punch me in the face, strike me? That is a kindness? What the heck is he talking about? He goes on further. Let him rebuke me. Let him rebuke me. It is oil on my head. My head will not refuse it. What David is saying is, listen, when I am sinning, when I am making mistakes, Lord, please help a righteous man come and punch me in the face and go, what the heck are you doing, David? When Nathanael told him that story, King David could have said, Nathanael, the prophet, I don't care what you say, get out of my face. And he could have had him killed. You know what King David said? He said, Nathanael, you're right. I did take my neighbor's wife, and I did kill him. Thank you so much for pointing out I am a sinner. And he went straight to God. And that's why actually God let him stay king. Here's the thing, as Christians, we're supposed to go to other Christians and say, what are you doing? I saw what you did yesterday. Dude, you're giving us a bad name. I care about you. I want you to do good. Hey, can you please change that? And hopefully they go, dude, thank you so much for pointing that out. Guess what? If another believer comes to you in love and says, what the heck are you doing? Why are you acting that way? Why are you living this way? I've been watching you. I care about you. Dude, you should change. You know what your heart should be is this. This should be your heart where you're like, thank you. Dude, you're right. I'm sorry. Because we're not supposed to judge to look down on others. We're supposed to judge them to help them. To take the sawdust out of their eyes and actually help them. That's what we're called to do. See, judging we think is a bad thing. It's a bad thing when we judge people's hearts and we say they're a bad person. It's a good thing when we're trying to help them grow in their walk with God. That's when judging becomes a great thing. You see, that's the upside down living today. We're actually called to judge others, but we got to be careful how we do it. Judge ourselves first. Then judge their actions, not their hearts. Never judge their hearts. Only God can do that. And then when we finally go to judge them, it should be a gentle way to help them change. That's it. That's it. Here's my take home for you. Remember, this is probably the first thing that's the most important thing is this, is first ask yourself, what is the logs I think I put on there, what logs do I need to remove from my eyes? What planks, what are sins in your life you need to remove first? Because before you can judge someone, look at yourself. In fact, you know what? You want to do a great job. Go to your buddies and go, dude, where do I need to change? I wonder what happened there. And if they really loved you, hopefully they'd be honest and help you remove it. Because that's our job is when we are judging, it's designed to help people grow, not to really judge them, look down on them. Let's pray. Dear God, I just want to thank you so much for who you are. Lord, thank you how you look at life a little different. You change, Lord, you think of this world upside down, or you teach us this upside down world where a lot of times we don't fully get it and fully understand it. And you're like, but this is the way to live. Lord, would you change the way we see this life? Lord, would we be people that we're working on ourselves, but when people have other problems, we're gently going to them and helping them remove their mistakes by the way we help them, Lord. Lord, I love you so much. In your name, amen.